You switched off up there. Oh, crikey. Good evening. Welcome. I am Karen and I am your MC this evening, just in case you didn't know who I was. I'd like, if you didn't think you were here for the PSNZ 8 PM session, welcome. You can stay and you can leave. Have we got any visitors here this evening? Well, that makes it good. Anyway, please remember that our exits in the case of emergency is 2 here either side of the stage or out the back, the front door that we came in. In the case of an emergency, we meet across the road. Bathroom is as usual in that corner of the building. I'm sure you'll make your way. And it would be very, very appreciated if you could turn the rings and dings off on your phones. Much appreciated. Right, so we've got a couple of notices. The first one is that it is going to be the AGM in November. So we would like people who are thinking that they'd like to help and join in helping direct the direction of the club, to think about and talk to Ian or myself. We're looking for committee members and secretary. Nominations are in October. There will be a formal notices sent out, but we thought you'd like to have a think about it in the meantime. Now, Ian has got a little notice for us about the spring workshop.
Thanks, Karen. I'm pretty sure most of you here will have seen that when I talked about the other week and seen on the website there's a big green button to enrol in the spring workshop series. The enrolments have been going basically a week and there was a big flood to start off with and now it's fizzled to not too much. I'm a little disappointed, to be quite honest, with the numbers. We intentionally didn't put a sort of a close by, must be in by sort of date, but I'm going to retrospectively do that so that we can be sure that we are going to have enough numbers to run these whole things. So if you have any thoughts at all about going to the spring workshop series, have another look at it and go onto the website and click the yellow button and tell us what you would like to do. In terms of the enrolments that are going so far, it's been pretty good response for the bird photography trips, and they are fairly close to full. But don't be backwards in putting that forward if you want to do that, because it's relatively easy to add another one. So we always had that in the back of our head to do that. Creatives going pretty well, pretty disappointed in the response for the street workshop, the street photography workshop. So in particular, if you want to do street photography, put your name down now, because we've got a committee meeting next Wednesday and I'd like as many people who are interested to have put their names down before then so we can got a bit of guidance about where to go with that, and to lock things in firmly. I'll send out an email to all club members tomorrow essentially saying that, but for those of you who are here or those of you listening, and if you haven't enrolled and you want to, please go and do it tonight. Thank you.
Well, I nearly fell over my own feet. Then I looked at them in disgust, really. Okay, so this evening we're lucky enough to have 2 things on this evening. First up, we have Alistair introducing the prints and our wonderful artists for that. And then after that, I will introduce our guest speaker, who is talking about going for honours, as we can see on the board. So here we go, Alistair.
Thanks, Karen. Tonight we're privileged to have Dawn Kirk's images up. Dawn's been a member of the club for a while now. I think it was 2008 she joined, and she's really come on. She said to me before that she, in the first couple of years, she didn't enter at all, but as you can see, she's one of our top photographers now and has done extremely well with her floral photography of late. So if you've got time at the end of the meeting, have another good look, another good walk through. So I'll hand this over to Dawn for a few minutes.
I'm not quite sure what I can say. I started entering flare images taken on Nelson's lightbox and had some success, so that sort of encouraged me. I've done a few portraits, and I know you're not meant to say it, I'm not overly creative with Photoshop things and that, so I brought a good lens because I've always loved nature but never had a very good setup. So since I brought that lens, I kind of got a bit addicted to the birds, so I spend most of my time doing that now. And it's good because you don't have to spend very much time in front of the computer with them. I've tried a few insects. JK's watching his images have inspired me with, but yeah, basically it is what it is. The black and white landscapes, I had 12 of those. I went for honours probably 5 years ago. Didn't get through, so I've still got my 12 images. The rest I didn't bring because, as you can see, I've got quite a few, so I should be sponsoring Ken's because I'll spend a bit of dough there. Anyway, if anyone's got any questions, it's probably easier to answer a question than think of something to say. I have got lights for portraiture, and I've got grandchildren for portraiture, so I've taken a few of them. But
After you've listened to Newell tonight, you intend to put in another.
I want to do a nature one, actually.
You have got letters there, haven't you?
Oh yes. Well, I've got
You've got
PSNZ, and I've gone for the overseas ones again this year, so it's been my effort. But you never know, after tonight I might be inspired to go for that as well.
Thank you very much, Dawn. And if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Dawn will be most helpful at answering after Newell, and I'm sure you can explain quite a bit about those pictures that are beautiful. Okay. It's my great pleasure to introduce a fellow photographer who is inspiring, has a wealth of experience, some wonderful pictures, and I think we all know Newell here. Is that the case? Yes. Newell's been one of those photographers in the club that has been very generous with his time with me, and has been willing to give me advice and encouragement. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce Newell Grenfell for Going for Honours.
Thank you. And everyone. Those here and everyone at home. I hope there's some people watching at home, viewing at home. When President Ian introduced the set challenge a couple of weeks ago, I remember him saying that most of what we do at CPS relates to individual images. The set challenge was introduced essentially to address that issue by encouraging us to put sets and portfolios together. Because that's what you have to do to apply for honours. So I hope many of you will be not only encouraged to apply for honours after what we talk about tonight, but also will take the opportunity to make a submission or to participate in the set challenge, because it really is something different, getting away from just shooting individual images and above all, leaving those in the computer. There are several types of photographic honours we can apply for. For example, there's the honours awarded by the FIAP, which is the European Federation of Photographic Art. And Anne Bastian and James Gibson are the great experts on this. And it's worth finding out more about it and talk to them if you'd like to do that. But my conversation tonight is really going to focus on the PSNZ honours, because these are the ones that we are mostly concerned with, the most members who go for letters start by having a go with the PSNZ letters. Let's go back to the beginning, in case anybody doesn't know. PSNZ stands for the Photographic Society of New Zealand. PSNZ is the umbrella organisation for amateur photography in New Zealand. Latest figures suggest that some 60 camera clubs are affiliated to PSNZ, and it also has about 1,200 individual members. Tonight I'm going to describe the PSNZ honours system and what you have to do to acquire their honours. Now, I've been asked to give this talk almost every year for the past few years, and you may wonder why it has to be repeated. An obvious reason is that we have new members. Some may not have heard it before. But additionally, things are not set in stone. They do change slightly from year to year. A lot has changed since the 12 years that I was on the PSNZ Honours Board, back in the dark ages, 1996 to 2007. And that was a long time ago. And quite a lot of change, a lot of emphasis has changed. The single most important thing to take away from tonight, what you need to do next, if you're thinking about going for PSNZ Honours, is go on the PSNZ website and read very carefully everything that it says about honours. There's a huge amount of information there, including examples of successful sets at different levels, and all sorts of reminders and tips, and so forth. In particular, it's crucial that you study the honours guidelines, which were updated September 2021. In fact, they've been updated since I last gave this talk last year. The stated main purpose of the Photographic Society of New Zealand is to help photographers grow. Photographic honours are among the main benefits that PSNZ sees that it offers to its members. The honours are awarded at 3 levels. LPSNZ, which is licentiate. 1 grade higher is associate, APSNZ, and then fellow. Now, at the entry level, you don't necessarily have to start at L. You can start at A if you believe that your work is already up to that standard. You could go straight for an A. If you're not absolutely sure what to do, my advice normally is to start at an L. Get some runs on the board. It'd be disappointing to shoot off for a day, miss it, you spend the money, you haven't got an award, and then you're wondering, why did I make that decision? A cynic may say that going for PSNZ honours is an ego trip. And all of us have got egos, and to some extent it is an ego trip. But it's more than that. Firstly, PSNZ honours give you an objective measure of where you stand as a photographer. When you have letters after your name, you're no longer just a keen photographer. You actually have a recognised qualification. And in some careers, police would be an example, PSNZ letters are taken into account in matters relating to promotions and so on. So it's a real genuine achievement and a recognised thing to have these letters after your name. Another reason to consider going for letters is to give yourself a goal to achieve. I mean, all right, it's all very well to take part in all the competitions and the MDC and try and score better than your best friend. But an objective measure, something to achieve, is a little bit separate from that, and it's well worth doing. You have a goal to achieve when you set out for your L, and once you have an L, you go on and try for an A, and so on. Another very important reason for considering PSNZ honours is to acquire new skills. As I mentioned, most of what we do here at the Camera Club relates to individual images. What we have to produce for PSNZ letters is a portfolio. There's an art in putting a portfolio together. And it's a skill really worth learning because it's a skill you can apply equally to other things. For example, arranging photographs in an album or a book. You have skills in assembling a portfolio, you'll make a better job of that. It's a skill you apply with making audiovisual. To learn PSNZ letters, to earn the letters, you must learn to put a portfolio together. And this is what it says about portfolios in the guidelines. It says very clearly, honours are not achieved by submitting a collection of your best images. Not achieved at any level, just by saying, these are my 10 best images, we'll throw them in, see how we get on. A portfolio is described, as written there, as a presentation of photographic work in which the total has greater value than the sum of the individual parts. And the guidelines say a successful portfolio should take a viewer on a journey. Now, the key thing about a portfolio is that the images need to be linked together in such a way that the viewer's eye moves comfortably from one image to the next. The link might be subject matter, but subject matter is just one of the many ways in which images can be linked in a portfolio. One image can be linked to another through shape, or line, or color, or texture, or progression through time. These are all ways in which one image can link to another. Probably the most important is color and tone. I often give the example, and I'm not quite sure how appropriate it is anymore, but I used to say you'd never follow a delicate portrait of a young baby with a picture of an all-black scrum. But some fans would suggest you would do now, but let's not go there. Think of a portfolio as an exhibition. At every level, the photographic quality of the set needs to be consistent. Terribly important that it's consistent. One weak image can let the whole set down. You might get away with it at L, having one image which is a little bit below par. You won't get away with it at A. Likewise, if some images are notably more strong than the others, the portfolio can be unbalanced. The panel that's reviewing your submission may ask itself, why are the images not all as good as those? They're terrific. No, and they have unbalanced it. So you can, and I know of cases where people going with a portfolio had left out their individual strongest image because it's a particularly winning image, and it was so good that they felt it would distract from the balance of the portfolio. You have to specify the order in which your images are viewed, and you pay attention, therefore, to the format and group together, generally speaking, your horizontals and your verticals. You don't want the format changing all the time in a format going along horizontal, then a vertical, horizontal, vertical. Avoid that. Try and group them together. And although it's not forbidden, in fact, some people have done it very successfully, it's a bit dicey mixing monochrome and color. Important point, and I'll stress many times, is start with a really strong image. It's a fairly exhausting session nowadays, the board meeting. They are typically assessing over a course of about 3 days, somewhere in the region of 100 portfolios. Now, the board are human, hard to believe sometimes, but they are, and they get tired. And it's really important to start on a strong note, and then link and flow from there, wake up their attention. And similarly, you want to finish on a strong note. Good start, good finish, and link them between. We speak of print sets needing to hang together and projected sets as needing to flow. Okay, understanding this concept of the portfolio is absolutely crucial in applying for PSNZ letters. Shortly, I'll show you some sets with some excellent examples of ways in which the images in a good portfolio can be linked together. We'll have a look at those shortly. A few practical things first. Submissions to the Honours Board are made just once a year. The next dates, this is another thing which is completely new this year. The next dates are the 17th or 18th of June to the end of July next year. In the past, it's always been February for starting a board meeting in March. That's no longer the case. So you have plenty of time to prepare and think about it. The 6 people on the board, the 6 members on the board, they'll all have fellowships. They're drawn from all over the country, and they meet just once a year, as I said, for about 3 days. And they now meet in Invercargill, which is different. You can submit either prints or projected digital images. My personal view, and it's just a personal view, is that prints may have a slight advantage over projected sets. It's a little bit easier for the board when they've got the whole portfolio up there laid out and they're making an assessment about it. They can discuss it more easily and illustrate how it hangs together, point out the strengths of the images and so on. A little bit easier for them to do that than when it's projected images, which they're just seeing one after the other. On the other side of the coin, of course, it costs more if you're going to produce prints. Your portfolio can be open or nature. There's also a category, scientific, but I won't go into that now because it's a very rarely used one, but you can read about it on the website. So how do you get an L and earn the letters LPSNZ after your name? Let's consider the more practical aspects. To go for an L, you do not need to be an individual member of PSNZ. If you belong to a club which is affiliated to PSNZ, you can apply. And CBS is, of course, affiliated to PSNZ, and so you're quite okay to apply. You have an application fee. The application fee is currently $100. It's $10 more for an A and $10 more for an F. So it's not huge money, but it's significant. It's money you don't want to throw away. Portfolio for licensure is 10 images, the 10 images. And what you need to demonstrate within the context of the flow or hanging together is all-round proficiency in camera use and processing. An L does not require a subject matter theme. It requires variety. And that doesn't mean that, oh, I've got to produce one landscape, one portrait, one nature subject, and so on. No, you don't have to do that. But what you do need is to demonstrate variety of lens choice, lens setting, a variety of viewpoints, and lighting conditions. This is really showing your all-round proficiency in photography at the L level. And you don't do that simply with 10 pictures, or with a long lens, or with a short lens, or of a similar type. The variety that you show is in terms of the lighting that was used, the length of the lens, and so on, the variety of viewpoints. That's the thing that shows your competence. Okay, let's look at the requirements for the next level of award, which is an associateship. So if you get up from there, let's see what you have to do to get the APSNZ after your name. In this case, you must be an individual member of PSNZ. So you've got the cost of joining PSNZ, but that's really worth doing anyway. The annual sum for PSNZ membership is currently $90. As a member, you receive a free copy of the New Zealand Camera Book. You have no charge whatsoever for this that comes to you. Each year, you're encouraged, entitled to send 2 pictures to this fantastic book. And you don't have a guarantee of getting in it, but you have a chance, a real good chance of getting in it. And that's coffee table book, which is really, really worth having. So you get that free with your PSNZ membership. In addition, what do you get? You get electronic newsletter. Now, you used to get a hard copy newsletter, and here's tonight's good news. You can have some of the old hard copy newsletters if you're interested in them. In days gone by, until about 5 or 6 years ago, the newsletter that came from PSNZ each month, I think it was fully printed, color, and I faithfully kept them all in files. And I've got 3 huge files going back 30 odd years. Give you a lovely example of what work was being produced by PSNZ members those days, some of the conventions that they had. There's a wealth of information. If you would genuinely like to take those, we're trying to downsize. You can't believe how many files I've got. Yeah, when I started on this downsizing, I realized I had 27,000 images in my desktop computer. that was just the start of it. So paperwork like that, I think we can do without now. And it would be a lovely thing to have in the days when CPS had an active library. That would have been nice thing to have. But if you'd like to take it away, please do. If you want to take it away for a week or so and bring it back, let somebody else have a look at it, do that. That would be a nice way of sharing the information. So in addition to the electronic newsletter we now have, and that has interesting articles in it, very good articles and examples of work. It's PSNZ membership gives you discounts on attending PSNZ events. So it's really a no-brainer. If you're serious about this photography thing, join PSNZ. You'll never regret it, I'm absolutely sure. Okay, an associateship. Come back to an associateship. What do we have to do? Only another couple. You go from 10 images to 12. But it's a significant step up. It's a large step up. It's a higher level of proficiency and a definite artistic style. The latest guidelines stipulate it must demonstrate a wide range of your photographic capabilities in both technical skill and artistry. In simple terms, it's not unlike the L, 2 more images, a little bit longer, but the quality of the work has to be number 1. Very, very good quality. Theme is not required. But the whole thing must be like a presentation or exhibition. And this is where you really can't afford to have anything which stands out as being below standard. Recent set that I had a look at that for someone, and I thought they would get it. It slipped mainly on processing, and that's not my hot button anyway. They were all strong images. Subject matter was great, variety, viewpoints, everything satisfied. But the board, in its wisdom, when they looked at it closely, they found it was some of the images were over-sharpened and so on. If you're not white hot in processing matters, don't be shy to ask somebody else to have a look. Say, can you find any faults with any of these images? Finally, let me say something briefly about the FPSNZ. Right. To apply for a fellowship, you must already be an associate. Okay. You already need 18 images, not 12, 18 images. And here is where the rule changes. And this is where I think people have been somewhat misled over the years. The board is looking for a theme. It's looking for a distinctive style. One of the ways it's put a thesis-like approach to one subject. So it's very much an individual style. And my theory is why the L's have been slipping. We've been getting quite a lot of unsuccessful A's in recent years, that they've tried to present a theme, and they're not supposed to be presenting a theme. And they do that because they go to the National Exhibition, they see the successful fellowship sets. They are so good. They line up, they see these 18 images, and there's a great risk of coming away, I'm going to go for my letters. I see, yep. I've got a whole series of pictures of a rubbish dump down near the tannery. I'll go and make a set of that. That's not what they're looking for. Only if you were going for a fellowship would it be appropriate to have 12 images or 18 images, that is, of the same subject. Everywhere else, it's variety. A fellow is supposed to be one who stands in the forefront of New Zealand photography. Let's just look at a handful of fellowship sets. I think we may have seen a glimpse of this recently. This was Ian's fantastic fellowship set. It's a print set. See the way that this hangs together as a display. It's one theme, it's one story, it's the story of riding for the disabled. And the balance of this theme is absolutely gorgeous. Notice the way it has used verticals on both sides, which hold the set together. As you come in, you find that this works. The little girl, she's looking in from this side and in from the other side. So it all comes together. There's a similarity in the images, but they're all distinctly different. So there's like a progression of time with them. The eye moves very comfortably among that set. That's a classic example of a set, of a fellowship set that really hangs together. You can see that for yourself on the web, and you see other examples too. That's what you're ultimately aiming for. With a fellowship set, you've got to have got the associate first. Here's another one. Here's Anne Bastian's. Fantastic artist is Anne. Now more than ever, the board is looking at the fellowship level for approaches that are really, really radically different. But there, again, you see there's a balance in that it's not just thrown together. Each image seems to flow quite nicely. I find it interesting that the right-hand side brought in the stronger blue colour, a lesser colour initially, gradually building up and all of a similar size. Beautiful arrangement, fantastic. Let's see if we got one more. Oh, this was incredible. This tells you what the future is like. This is Helen Mclaren's set. She created prints in the manner of postage stamps. They're all actually reproduced to look like postage stamps. And they all had various linking features, all had a building and other things floating around in the sky. Yeah, her imagination is beyond description, really. And I think she's done extremely well in the recent creative thing. What I always say here, do not try to do it all on your own. None of us can be truly objective about our work. So consult a mentor who has been through the process, ideally a fellow or an associate. You cannot consult current members of the Honours Board. Used to be able to, but you can't now. But remember, there are past members who may be willing to help. Now, a little word of advice here. If you have selected someone who you'd like to help you, please don't expect them to do the work for you. You should put together what you think and let yourself be guided by your understanding of the requirements, and then arrange to see your mentor with just a few reserves that you considered maybe and thought they might go in. Just seek fine-tuning. Seek fine-tuning from your mentor. Let's look at some recent successful L's and A portfolios. This is one I showed last year, I think. I think Nicola wasn't here last year, so she gave me a little write-up on this. And this was interesting, because she told me what she did. She made small prints of about 40 of her favourite images, just little regular size. And she played with those and moved them around the dining room table for days, trying to see how they could fit together. And I thought that's a very good way of starting Actually, it's not going to cost a fortune to make the 6x4 prints and move them around and see how they link together. She then saw a pattern begin to emerge with them. She then put together a trial set and consulted Paul Daly, who'd been her tutor at Hagley College. And I think he went one or two other suggestions, which she either did or didn't follow. And this is the set that she ended up with. Strong start. First images have water as the connecting thing. Full pictures of water. Then she progressed into nature subjects and gave them a very central composition. Again, the fact that they're linked by shape in broad terms is making it easier for the eye to go. Here we are. See how that shape links to the previous two images? Again, there's a link in shape, but here she's brought in some color, some exciting sort of colors. Now more caught up with the colors, but those colors are quite harmonious with the colors beforehand. Here we are again. There's no awkward jar as you see it, but there's tremendous variety. You're using different lenses, different viewpoints, and so on. And this, I think, was her final one. She said a couple of the pictures were taken off CBS field trips, and others were created having fun, as she put it, with Jane Barnes. And Nicola got her out at the first attempt. And Jane also got an L last year. Let's see what she did. Now, remember what I emphasized earlier about starting strong? That's a cracker of a landscape picture, beautiful picture to begin with, and wake the board up. Shouldn't be rude to them, but really, that's a lovely, dramatic picture. Surely grabbed the board's attention. And that's predominantly white, no, white, blue, sitting quite comfortably with the one that went before. This again, a little difference in viewpoint here, difference in shutter speed to slow it down. Again, it's similar sort of coloring to the first three. Now, Jane introduces something else, but still a lot of blue, water, lovely nature shot. Now we switch format and go into portrait, but there's a linkage in subject matter that you've got one natural history, then another natural history, and a very, very good one at that. Now we go into a whole series in verticals. This is showing a technical skill. Here again, different viewpoint. And more imaginative, but they're all different. Now we come back to some circular. You see your eye is going quite comfortably from one thing to the next. You're not leaping from a baby to an all black. And finally, something a little bit more extreme. And that was Jane's successful set. Now we had one successful L set this year. This was from Tash Harris. She gained honours this year with 10 really strong images. She broke one or two of the rules, that's fine. This was, again, look at the strength of this as an individual image, frankly, I think that would probably blow the set away anywhere else in the image. It's a very powerful profile. But if you put that in the middle of 10 images, it would attract too much attention. So put it in the beginning, and the board says, wow. And then we've gone into some black and white, some monochrome images. This is really a study in lines. Interesting viewpoint, wide angle. And here's another monochrome, very strong. I think we saw that in the last one projected image competition, didn't we? The portrait one, yes. Beautiful. Very, very well processed. Lovely shot. Now she's going to introduce you some color, but not to the extent that it's a huge leap. It's a muted, soft color, and it's some nature. It's nature. Now we come back to, I think these ladies have all been to the same waterfall. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they had tremendous fun. Now they've picked up the white of the waterfall, and that's fine to keep with white. Now we've got white, we've got the water and the blue, very much with color harmony of the rest of the set. Here's another very different viewpoint, architectural shot, very wide angle lens, predominantly blue in color, and interesting picture. Another different type of photography, photojournalism. What's the dominant color? The blue, the background. And extremely good piece of photojournalism. Caught the action, caught the ball, caught the eyes. Excellent. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. And here's number 10. A bit more different technique here, slow shutter speed, double image, but the gold is picked up from the athlete on the previous shot. I think that's done very well indeed. Good examples. All those three are all excellent examples of what you should set yourself going for Mandela. We didn't get any A's this year, but there was an A last year from Anna Stevens. This was interesting, that in a sense she had a subject matter theme, but tremendous diversity within that theme. Anna demonstrated her brilliance as a wedding photographer to the glorious portrait. And I think every set we've looked at, your reaction's been, ooh. The first image has always been very strong. And then for the variety, very harmonious with the color. The color palette is fine, but it's just a point of detail. Now, a very different interpretation, but the color palette is very similar. Bring in the little girl. Now, the idea of the little girl carries through, and she's got some red flowers and things. Classic wedding picture in the garden, the bride, the couple. Bride. There's a sufficient difference between the images, and yet the color palette is very similar. Okay, she's looking down at the flowers, and then right, we'll have a close look at the flowers. Another indoor portrait. Now, some of the little kid that was introduced earlier. One of the ways you can test the flow of these, when you put them on the screen, use the slow shutter, the slow transition from one to the other. And that will, I mean, I've got these going through at you've got about a second pause between them, but sometimes if I really want to look at something, I'll slow it down 2 or 3 seconds, and then you gradually see how they being together. And I think they were absolutely beautiful, beautiful set. Well done, Anna. Another A from last year was Jo Curtis Go as one of the most versatile and creative members of the club, as you all know. And she actually admits to making several attempts before she could move up to an A. And she finally succeeded with a wonderful set of what the board is really looking for in terms of quality and diversity. That was Jo's opening set, again, opening image. I think when this was judged as an individual image, the judge had just judged the Dunedin salon and said that was seriously considered for the best image in the Dunedin salon. So again, tremendous impact with that first. Do work very hard on your first image. Think very, very hard of it. And then she comes into a calming down, if you will, a beautiful landscape. Notice the similarity of the color palette between that, and she's used a different technique here. A fuzzy technique. Again, there's clever processing in there, but see the color palette, very, very comfortable, harmonious. Here she's used camera movement, and I thought a lovely feature there was that strong blue line going across. So she's introduced the idea of blue, and lo and behold, up come the blue from photojournalism. Another great image. She's now showing us some nature work. Good shot. Indoor photography. This is her, I forget what you call this. It's basically walking around the tree and doing things I wouldn't know how to do. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful, creative images. One of the things that Jo had to be careful of, and this is another thing, just be absolutely sure that you don't use 10 images which are all highly manipulated and jiggery-pokery. Be good to have some straight images as well. As I say, you don't have to go and get a straight nature shot, a straight PJ shot, and so on. Variety is fine. But I think one could overdo it if you had 10 images all with this kind of technique. The risk you have is the board may say, well, do they take any straight pictures as well? And here's an example, lovely example of a straight picture, portrait, and picked up the color. And Jo finished with yet another of her wonderful triptychs. So that's basically what we've got. This is what our members have done. I'm sure there are people here who can really have a go. Do talk to someone else, chat among yourselves, and have a go. And good luck to you. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Thank you.
Ding, ding, ding. Oh, it worked. Thank you very much, Newell. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure everyone here who is looking to go for honours.
Should we ask Is anybody thinking of going for honours next year?
Oh, that's a good question. Is anyone thinking of going for an honours next year? Excellent.
Good.
We've got the associate going for now, and awesome. That's fabulous.
That's good. We had this batch of licentiates last year, and just had the one licentiate this year. But right, then all you have to keep saying to yourself, this is a significant step up, but it's a very similar rules. All the images are really strong, and particularly the first one. Good.
One thing that's worth remembering.
Yes. Sure.
If those of you who don't know, I'm on the honours board, so I got a chance to look at it from the other side this year, which was really informative. But one of the things that people possibly don't realise is that the projected images are all displayed on a 65-inch 4K monitor. It's regular. It's been calibrated and all that sort of stuff, so the colours are all quite good. But it's a big screen, and it's probably metre Newell away from the front row of where the people are sitting. So any flaw at all is there. So I would recommend, if anybody's going to put a projected image set, find somebody with a 65-inch screen and stick it on it and stand as close as you can, because it gives it a big caning. And predominantly, particularly at the A set, the images, the sets that missed out were mostly missing out for technical struggles rather than anything else.
Good. Thank you. That was exactly the assumption I made on the one that I was aware of, because I thought it had all the qualities needed, because I hadn't seen it on a big screen, and it was mainly technical things. So good. Great.
Has anyone got any more questions for Newell?
Feedback on your images, especially if you weren't successful.
Excuse me, do
they give you feedback on your images?
yes, it varies a bit. It used to be written feedback. This year they've tried it in terms of giving a verbal feedback recording. I'm not personally convinced that that's very successful. I'm a great believer in the written word, but it takes time to do that writing. It's a huge job. You only write to the people that are not successful. Well, they get a standard success, congratulations, letter if they are successful. But yes, the board does try to give you feedback on what's let it down, and generally do it quite well. But it's not an easy job to do. And until recently, there were two coordinators to the honours board after the honours board went through a bit of a tricky time some years ago. And when Ron Parry was president, he appointed two, coordinators to the honours board, John Boyd and myself. And we shared a role. As it turned out, John took most of the hard work, which was as it should be. And he used to write all of the letters. And it was a huge job. It really is. But it's hard because you're writing a letter to somebody who doesn't want the letter anyway. We all think that our work is up to standard. And if I've failed, then there must be a bias in the board, or they didn't understand, or they had the pictures back to front or something. But the fact of the matter is the images were not quite where they needed to be. And that's a hard thing to communicate until they keep working at it. And there's some lovely examples, incidentally. Shona Jari has put on a presentation here on one occasion and showed her first attempt, I think it was an A set. And it was nice, fine set. And she failed. And then she showed what she's put in a couple of years later. I said, wow, and everybody could see, it was obviously much better. We do make good progress. So the short answer, you do get feedback. Get as much feedback as you can, or much as you can from a worthy advisor beforehand. And by that I don't mean ask 6 members, because you get 6 different opinions, but find someone that you can trust and really help you with it, and will guide you. And then let them see what the board has said.
Can I elaborate a little
Yes,
bit?
sure.
Just to let you know what exactly happens is that the conversations, if anybody's watched any of the NZIPP judging that's been on recently, where there are conversations, exactly the same thing happens on the Honours Board. There's a sort of initial judging and then a conversation that goes backwards and forwards. Whenever there is a set that is either a 50-50 call because of 6 members, 3-3 always gets a discussion. But anytime there's a discussion, they're recorded, and conversation goes backwards and forwards, and then the final result will happen. And then Bruce Girdwood, as the chair, has taken it upon himself to provide feedback, and it comes out of the video to everybody. So he talks to the images and effectively puts in his own words what has come from the recording previously. So it's referring to things he doesn't have to take notes and remember. So he took over the writing thing as well and wound himself into an early grave almost. I think it's just a really huge task. So he's found it a little bit easier to do it as video. That's just the way Bruce likes to work. I'm not sure how sustainable that level of feedback is on a long-term basis. So it'll happen next year, but whether it'll happen much after that, I don't know. But what is more likely to happen is perhaps that the recording of the conversations might become available, so you can just listen to the raw data and make your own mind up. You are encouraged, if you want to get hold of anybody from on the board after the event, and I've had a couple of people talk to me about their presentations or the things that Bruce has done. So the idea is to spread it out and get everybody to talk about it. You're not allowed to get advice about what to put forward, but you can certainly get good feedback afterwards. So I think they're really trying hard to get quality feedback so that the people will understand and grow from it. But I know for a fact, actually a bit of time between when you receive the no letter and when you receive your critique is a good thing, because you tend to mellow a bit after a while.
Yes.
No matter what feedback you got after the letter, you're not listening. So been there, done that is all I can say.
Yes, we all.
There was one other thing that the Facebook page, they have a group for people that are going for the L's and A's, and you can provide your images and ask other people that are going for it for their opinions.
Oh, yeah.
It's opinion based, but it's just a Facebook group, which is really handy.
And the Honours Board is specifically excluded from the conversation.
Fine, I would, as a generalization, and I haven't seen this Facebook, and I'm not a great Facebook addict, there's enough good judges in CPS. You'll get excellent opinions from CPS. We often lose sight of how the standards of this club vary from many of the other clubs, put it that way. And so there are other clubs would see some of the work that we might put up and say that I don't know how it could possibly have failed. It's absolutely wonderful and brilliant, but it may be, at best, maybe acceptance work at CPS. So look for the people in CPS. I think that would be the best thing. But particularly this thing about the quality. Somebody who's got a big screen, that would be absolutely ideal. And try not to take it too seriously. So see who looks serious about everything.
Have fun along the way.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Newell. I really enjoyed that. And I know we've got a couple of people who are going to go for theirs, and you'll use your advice. Thank you so much.
Good. Do have a look at these books. Camera talk book, if you like. Oops. Drunk again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just as a little extra, there are some upcoming competitions. So due in tonight, in case you didn't realise, is Natural History PI 3? PI 3, so it's one image, I understand. And due in a very short space of time, on the 14th of September, is projected image number 9. And then a week later, on the 21st, is open print number 5. And it's coming thick and fast. On the 28th of September is the set challenge due in. so 4 in a month, really? So that's fabulous. And next week we have at 7 p.m. we are doing a photo share and critique. So bring along your photos to share. And at 8 p.m. we have the C grade PI2 and print number 2 results, and I believe we also have John Suckling showing his prints. I think that's to be confirmed, is it? Okay, to be confirmed. Not entirely settled, but the prints and the C grade information is there. Has anyone got anything else they would like? Yes, Alistair. Oh, we have. Excellent. Sorry, I didn't realise that. I'll shut up and sit down. Woohoo.
Get low. Get low. Get low.
Get low. So the theme for next month, well, no, for what month? For September is get low.
59 is the MDC for this month, which is transparent.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Goodness. Okay. I've missed transparent. Mine wasn't transparent. It was something else. I'll have to withdraw. Oops. I can try it. No, I really can't. It really doesn't look anything like transparent. Okay. Thank you very much. Has anyone got any further notices that they'd like to let us know? Nothing? Okay, well, just one reminder. If you would like to be on the committee, please come and talk to Ian and myself afterwards with a cuppa. We're going to be around here for a little while, aren't we, Ian? Yes. And tonight it takes great pleasure to thank Newell for his presentation. Thank you very much, Nelson, for your tutorial. I'd like to thank Andrew and Wayne up the back on sound. And we have JK and John Hawkins for meet and greet. We have a big thank you to Alistair, and I believe Alan helped as well. Oh no, sorry, it's just Alistair, it's the sole man tonight on projection. Thank you very much to Dawn for sharing your wonderful photos with us. I'd also like to thank Nicola, Jane and Tash, who are here tonight, for contributing their pictures for Newell to look at. So I'm sure if you've got questions around those, that they'd be happy to have a chat to you as well. And once again, have a fabulous night. It was lovely to see you. And let's have a cuppa.